Hello and welcome to Super Switch Headz, the premier Nintendo podcast on all of the internet. My name is Patrick Nisley.
My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe, and boy, oh boy, we are joined by a very special guest tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, JM Specht from Devolver Digital joins us on the podcast today. How you doing, JM?
I'm doing all right. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very good. Glad to hear it.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you for being here. JM, you are here to talk with us today about E3, the past, present, and future of the E3 event. We'll give a little bit of the history of it, some memorable moments, kind of talk about the current state of it, and what's going to happen in the future. Some speculation on that.
That will be decided here and now.
Yeah,
we will
totally
be deciding what happens in the future of E3.
What happens here changes the world.
In this podcast, yeah.
We got lots of news and rumors, of course, too. There's been some leaks. There's been lots of big announcements because this weird E3-like summer of gaming stuff is happening. We've got some new Nintendo stuff as well to talk about, some various things. We'll go over all this. But first, everybody doing okay today? The three of y'all feeling all right?
Yeah.
Doing pretty good.
Doing okay. I like calling these digital events E3 likes. I think that's a pretty good genre for something.
There you go.
But yeah, I've been doing pretty good. Been playing some of those some of those free games, or not free games, but the games from the itch.io racial equality bundle. There's some really good stuff in there.
Oh, yeah.
This is episode 70. Our last episode was episode 69.
Nice.
And we had to take that opportunity to talk about sex and video games. And we got a couple of quick comments to go through that people shared with us. Both Ant Keeps Gaming and Krakow pointed out that we had 69 subscribers on YouTube at the same time we put out our 69th episode. So that's funny.
I'm glad to see the subscriber list creep back up to the amount
episode
of content
number
we've
list?
put out. Yeah. It's only a matter of time, baby. We've got more fans on iTunes.
Growth is still growth.
I also wanted to
Is this
mention
still the sex episode? Growth is
this
still
was
growth?
zing. Also wanted to mention Matt Manchester kind of, I don't know if this is a comment or like a compliment or a backhanded compliment, that he said that he thought that episode was more grown up or like more educated, whatever the word he used was.
He said it's more scientific than I thought it would be.
Yeah, so, I think we handled it with some tact. I think we made some pretty good points. And then Matt brought up some really good points as well on that kind of cultural, the weird American obsession with violence versus sex. Yeah. And there were some really good points to be made there. So thanks for listening to the podcast and taking that out of it.
Yeah. And if we ever start a philosophy podcast, we can delve into that question more.
Patrick, we already have a philosophy podcast. It's called Super Switch Headz, baby.
But hey, if you're out there listening and you enjoy the show, help us get past 69 subscribers on YouTube and give us a subscribe, give us a like, leave us a review on Apple or share our podcast somewhere on the internet. We would appreciate it. I also wanted to give a quick shout out to DCD, Daniel Murphy, who did a giveaway of Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition on our behalf. There was a winner, Twitter user, flower_cover. Congratulations. Hopefully you are now listening to the podcast. And if not, I don't know. If not, what?
If not, enjoy your game.
Yeah, enjoy your game. Cool. So I thought we'd open with the fact that Nintendo announced another Versus Summer Series event. I guess that's the flag they're using for this now. They're having all these online tournaments. There's another Mario Kart North American Open happening on June 26th through 28th. So, David, I'm sure your brother is well aware, but make sure he knows so he can.
I don't know, man. I think he got pretty burned by the last one. He did so well and still didn't even crack what he needed to.
Yeah. Well, they're really pushing this hard, I guess, because they know a lot of people are stuck at home and they know they don't have a big game right now or something, but they've been putting on these events for Splatoon and Mario Kart and Smash and all that.
Hey, you watch your mouth when you talk about Clubhouse Games 51 Mobile Class.
Fair enough. And then kind of making the rounds on the rumors website is this alleged private message that went out by known leaker Vergibin. So Vergibin has leaked a lot of information on various video game stuff, but especially Nintendo stuff in the past. And we've talked about them and their leaks. But there's this image going around that purports to be a private message sent by Vergibin just like 2 weeks ago or so, which has a lot of information in it. We can go over to the extent that this is real or not. If those of you that have looked at this, what do you think? It talks about Mario Kart 9 coming this year, new Metroid, a bunch of other stuff. Do you think this is real? Anything in it that gives it away?
I would say your boy is excited for Dynasty Warriors 10.
Yeah, that was one that was in there that I was like, I don't think anybody would make this up. You know what I mean? That's kind of like it's like a really specific leak, right? Dynasty Warriors 10.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then power to them. But I mean, Vergibin, as we've talked about a lot of times on this show before, especially when it comes to Smash leaks, has always been pretty spot on. He's like the one leaker that has had pretty consistent stuff, right? I think one of the other things that was in here was that Heihachi from Tekken would be a guest in some game. So a lot of people are obviously assuming that would be Smash. I mean, the Heihachi Mii costume was in Smash 4 and has been absent from Smash Ultimate. So that would definitely make sense. And Namco works on the game.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I believe a lot of this stuff. I think it's pretty obvious that Nintendo would want to do a Mario Kart 9.
Do you think so?
I mean, yeah, totally. I think we would have seen DLC for Mario Kart 8 Deluxe by this point if they weren't already working on the next one. Personally,
that's a good point.
Mario Kart 8 is like still selling just millions of copies, and that's a 2013, 2014 Wii U game that's still just like the main system seller for the Switch. So yeah, I can see them totally doing a Mario Kart 9.
Yeah, of interest also in this is that they've heard, Vergibin allegedly has heard that the ARMS character is like a multiple character rep in Smash, like Springman, Ribbon Girl, and Min Min. We will see if that pans out to be true. Then maybe we can put Mario Kart 9 in the bank for later this year or next year or what have you.
Yeah. I think the thing that really got me most excited was kind of something that was backing up a leak that we had heard earlier in the year, or maybe even at the end of last year, but that there was another 2D Metroid in the works. Yeah. And that should be announced sometime this summer. And
then sticking to leaks for a minute, this is another thing that's been making the rounds. A bunch of Crash Bandicoot merch, quite a bit of it, like mugs and socks and figures and keychains and hats and all kinds of stuff. Images of these things is leaked. And so that leads to speculation that maybe there's a new Crash Bandicoot game. And you know what? I think there is a new Crash Bandicoot game. Isn't there like a new mobile game coming out or has already come out?
Mm-hmm. It's like a Crash Runner.
Yeah, like a Endless Runner. I wonder if this is related to that or who's making merch for mobile games like that, though. I don't know.
You know what they say, when there's keychains, there's fire.
So if that's, I don't know that means anything, but
what Dave just said? No, that didn't mean anything.
But I guess we'll keep our eyes out in case there is some sort of new Crash game. And then Nintendo put out a new trailer for the Paper Mario game, which kind of goes into a little bit more depth about the battle system and the game in general. Y'all watch this? Have any thoughts on this? Did this change opinions?
It looks very fun and colorful and very joyful. I wasn't quite sure how the like RPG elements work in regards to like experience, which I think are coins. You get coins and then you use them on characters to, level them up. I couldn't quite get a grasp on the leveling system, how that might work.
Yeah, and I know that's something that's in contention for fans of this series. So I don't think it answered all the questions, which is probably good. But
I mean, I'm not a huge Paper Mario guy, but I thought that this look into the game looked more interesting and exciting to me than the initial trailer for Origami King did.
I would
think
agree
that I think like, because at first, when they kind of showed that battle system where it's the kind of weird concentric rings and you kind of go into this arena whenever you join a battle, I was like, what the hell is that? And they actually went a little bit into describing how the battle system worked. And it actually looked really fun. It's kind of like, instead of just mindlessly tapping A or trying to like time your attacks like you would in an old Paper Mario game, there's like a little bit of strategy and it's kind of a little bit of puzzle elements to the battles. And it doesn't look like it takes up too much time. So yeah, I mean, it also seemed a little more expansive to me than I originally thought the game would be from originally looking at it. So, yep, I think it looks really cool. I'll definitely be trying this out whenever it drops.
Yeah, me too. I'm stoked to finally defeat office supplies, which are the bosses, like color pencils.
The final battle is just like in a Staples.
Yeah.
Then a new Kingdom Hearts game was announced. And if that gets you excited, I can make you maybe a little less excited by saying it's a rhythm game. It's called Kingdom Hearts Memory of Melody. I don't know. It kind of looks like that Final Fantasy rhythm game in some ways.
Was that Dissidia? Is that what that game was called?
Dissidia is like a fighting game.
Okay, gotcha.
There's there's going to be 140 songs from several Kingdom Hearts.
Wait, is that true? Is there going to be 140 songs?
Yeah,
that's a lot.
That's a decent amount,
including but not limited to songs from.
List
Kingdom
them all.
Hearts.
No, not. Don't do
a mahjong, a piano, spider solitaire, toy tennis, toy boxing.
This bit will never die.
It won't. I love it.
The first comment that I read about it, about this game, Kingdom Hearts rhythm game, is like, well, they spent millions of dollars on those assets. Got to use them somehow.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Yeah, it's just like, I mean, I'm sure that a lot of people were like me. I think this news came out like late last night. And so like, I think a lot of people were probably like me. I woke up this morning and saw like a YouTube trailer for Kingdom Hearts on Switch and was like, oh my God. And then I checked it out. It was like, oh, of course it's a fucking rhythm game. It's just like, I mean, it just seems like one of the side games that they would get on like the DS or the 3DS. I mean, if this does well on the Switch, I guess we might see a Kingdom Hearts game move over, but I think it's just too much work. I doubt they'd do it at this point.
And this isn't just limited to the Switch. If you're out there and want to play Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory on your PlayStation 4 or Xbox One, you can.
But JM, are you up to date on the Kingdom Hearts canon as it stands right now?
Gosh, I'm not. Do we have time?
No, we should.
Boy, do we. See, Organization 13.
Kingdom Hearts is where... You know what? I was going to reference something for old people, and it's not even going to
do it.
We've got several elderly listeners.
Oh, yeah? Well, I just remember that clip from Kingdom Hearts back in the day where Donald Duck ejaculates and then, like, says he's going to go get a towel.
You're talking about Duck Job.
Out. That's what it was called, isn't it? Duck Job.
Yeah. Kingdom Hearts 1.75 Duck Job.
Duck Job. Yeah. That's the only Kingdom Hearts canon I know.
I just like how all the I was watching this trailer at home today, and my girlfriend was over. She wasn't at work, and she was just like, what is this? I don't think she'd had any exposure to Kingdom Hearts. And I think when you take a step back and you really look at what Kingdom Hearts is, it kind of defies logic.
It's like a fever dream, isn't it? Like it's just everything mashed. It's like if if Super Smash Brothers tried to have a plot.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And they tried that once. It didn't really work.
Well, another odd game came out today. Nintendo put out a free simple game called Jump Rope Challenge out of nowhere. Basically, you can take your Joy-Cons and simulate jumping rope. And that's pretty much it. I tried it out today because we do a Nintendo podcast, but also namely because my son was watching a ton of movies and stuff. And then my wife was like, he needs to move. And I was like, all right, let's go outside. And he's like, no. And I was like, okay, well, you want to play a video game?
Okay, well, let's play Jump Rope Challenge.
And he got into it. And he wasn't doing it right.
It looks like a Newgrounds game. It looks like a Flash game.
It's pretty simple. But I think that's fair. I mean, it's free, whatever. it's not terrible, but it is what it is, and it got us jumping.
You use the Joy-Cons to jump?
Yeah, it's like you pretend to be jumping rope with your Joy-Cons in your hands.
Yeah. I tried it out a little bit today as well. Like you said, Patrick, because we host a Nintendo podcast. And yeah, I mean, I tried it a little bit. I live on the second floor of an apartment, so I was just shaking my entire apartment. So I didn't play very long, but it's charming and fun. And I think in the tweet that Nintendo put out kind of announcing this game, they were like, hey, we had some people that haven't been able to do a bunch of work because of stay-at-home orders, and they cooked this game up, and now we're releasing it for free.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's just like a charming little, like, a little thing to get people moving while they're in quarantine. And I'd love to see more little experiments like this. It was very cute, and it got me about 45 seconds of enjoyment.
Did you guys do the Ring Fit?
Yes, that is more in depth.
Ring Fit's fun. Yeah,
it is fun.
Yeah, it's not quite as
it's
deep
not Ring
of
Fit.
a lore as Ring Fit. Yeah, but there are like JPEGs of cats in the background.
Cool, and every time you jump rope, it goes meow.
Yeah. What it really reminds me of is like a WarioWare micro game, but stretched for as long as you want to play it. Yeah.
Right.
What's the next WarioWare game coming out on Switch?
I don't know.
Man, hopefully
you need to
soon.
talk to your boy Verbigen. Give me a Wario game.
I think. I mean, originally the 2D Metroid that was leaked alongside a WarioWare game, and both have been silent for a long time. So we might be seeing one this summer.
What genre would a new 2D Metroid game be?
A Castlevania.
Oh my god!
Castlevania.
a castle Troid.
Castle Troid.
Also, Nintendo announced, and if you're listening to this podcast, this has probably already happened, but there's a Pokemon Presents event happening. I don't know why this is called Pokemon Presents. I don't know if they've ever used that name before instead of Direct.
Alliteration.
Yeah, pee-pee.
There you go. They decided that it sounds better. So what this is going to contain, we don't know. You might, if you're out there listening, maybe definitely something about the DLC because that's happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But
they said it'll have some other stuff in it as well. So
right, maybe some Pokemon Sleep news, maybe some Detective Pikachu news.
Also, let's go ahead and take bets right now because it's already out. This will just be fun for the listeners. Do you guys think it's Pokemon Presents or Pokemon Presents? Could be either.
Fair point.
Okay, we're not taking bets. That's
I like
fine.
Pokemon Presents better. I like that.
Yeah.
I do too. I do too.
In general, I just like presents.
Yeah.
Who doesn't
Okay.
like presents?
I think that's 4 all in on Pokemon Presents.
Yeah. Basically, if it's Presents, then Nintendo was in the wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, we know they're listening, so.
I put this in here. I just wanted to mention this because I was thought it was cool. Wired did a long, in-depth, well, I say long, it's not like super long, but a little in-depth article on the hacking scene surrounding the Game Boy. And I just thought it was kind of cool to see a big publication do that. And wanted to mention it in case that intrigues anybody, any of y'all or anybody out there listening to go check it out. They do a lot of interviews with people that, mod and hack all these old Game Boys, like the OG and the Game Boy Colors and Advance and all that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, I don't know about you guys, but I find myself going down like YouTube rabbit holes all the time of like people who modify consoles. And a lot of the people I follow, like Spawnwave and Retro Future, do Game Boy mods, and they'll put like IPS screens in them and everything, and a good backlight. And it's very like soothing for me. I don't know. It's like my ASMR, I guess. It's like watching people take apart consoles. That's really probably the nerdiest thing I've ever said. But yeah, this has been going on for a while. So like you said, it's cool to see a big publication talk about it.
And now we got a bunch of announcements and sort of these E3 likes, which is now
Hold
a
on,
term.
guys. You guys missed some of the biggest Switch news to come out in
What's that?
20 years.
What, that Ruiner is coming to Switch?
Carrion. Oh, yeah, Ruiner's coming to Switch. I was going to say Carrion. The double whammy. Carrion and Ruiner both coming to Switch.
There you go.
So is that a scoop? Did we just break that right now, or was that already out?
No, I think that's no. Yeah, we just broke that. That's news. That's brand new. Hot take. Oh, I'm gonna get fired. Shit, I shouldn't have said that. Oh shit. Delete.
Hell yeah. I'm honestly looking forward to both. Both of those games look really cool.
They are both very cool.
Yeah, everybody should check that out. We should definitely give multiple shout outs to Devolver here. Don't worry, I'm on it. You're on it. It's your job. Yeah.
There's one thing I can do is shill my shitty games.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah.
But so like I said, there's been a lot of big events. In particular, we'll start with maybe the biggest. The PlayStation 5 event happened, and they showed off the console. They showed off a bunch of games. It was a little over an hour. Got to watch this with you, David. This was pretty cool. It was a really good hour of trailers. That felt very much like E3 in a lot of ways.
It was the only one that was like really like, I guess during the E3 time, you know what I mean? So it definitely felt like you were kind of, because I mean, Microsoft's not doing their event until July. Nintendo's probably not doing one.
Right.
But yeah, what do you guys think of that console? We got to talk about that.
Well, yeah, we can start with it's bizarre. The shape of it looks like a big, I don't even know what it looks like.
Looks like someone sat on one side of it while the plastic is still cooling.
Yeah, it's like I think I've heard the disk drive referred to as a goiter on the system, which I think is pretty appropriate. Yeah.
Cool.
And it's on the bottom, which is bizarre. Like seeing the thing put on its side. Yeah, you're right. It looks like the plastic is warped.
It's like a two-tone, like black and white, and it's also like it's got
Avengers Endgame-esque.
The PlayStation buttons, like the triangle and all that. Apparently, did you see that like on the I think maybe on the controller and like the rough edges of things. It's like they were really leaning heavily into those buttons on this event, and they love to show off their unique buttons.
It's a very bumpy system. They would like zoom in really close and show all its bumps, which I thought was pretty nice.
Yeah, this whole time we were talking about it in the voice chat, and when they showed the video, they had these long shots of the PS4's slim, sleek body, and it goes to the ass of the PS5. And David, I think you were like, Sony wants me to fuck that PS5.
It's thick for sure.
Yeah.
I will say though, about a week has passed now, a little under a week has passed since it was revealed. I'm coming around to it a little bit more. The more I see it, the more I think it looks good. I think it's just like bigger than a lot of people think it is. You know what I mean? So like fitting it into the, like your home, entertainment center setup is going to be a little weird, but, it's meant to be a conversation piece, I suppose.
Yeah.
But you can put it sideways, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
You actually need to it's the only system that you need a stand to put it on its side.
I have two thoughts about the PS5 design. One, I don't like it. Two is it doesn't matter. People are going to buy that shit and they're going to fucking play Uncharted and they're going to play God of War.
And we'll get used to it.
We'll stop talking about that. It looks like a Time Warner cable router.
A Time Warner cable router with like collars popped.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Going to the club.
Unless there's other jokes to be made about the shape of the console, maybe we can talk about some of the games they showed off in this event. Did any of these games really speak to anybody? There were some pretty cool looking games.
Bold move to start off with an old game, Grand Theft Auto 5.
Well, that was weird. Yeah. That's a fair point. I think they must have sponsored it or something, right?
Yeah. They have to have, like, if Grand Theft Auto 6, if that comes out in the next couple of years, this got to have, like, a timed exclusive to give some
They're pushing
airtime.
online really hard.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think as soon as Rockstar found out that they could do microtransactions, they just, like, stopped developing Grand Theft Auto games.
So, yeah, that was kind of an odd opening for sure. We're like, oh, is this Grand Theft Auto 6? No. It's just
there There were definitely some standouts, though. I mean, I was really impressed with how many new IPs there were.
Yeah.
I mean, like, obviously, like, Ratchet and Clank looked amazing and showed off a lot of what they can do with that, like, fast-loading SSD with, like, multiple environments. That was cool.
Totally.
But then, like, after that, it was, like, a ton of new IPs. And I thought Kenna looked really good. That kind of gave me a bit of Zelda vibes. What was another one? I forget what one was called, but I was referring to it as NASA Stranding. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking
Returnal?
about. Returnal? No, not Returnal. Returnal looked good too.
Oh,
weird.
The one with the right. Pragmata?
Yeah, Pragmata. I thought that looked pretty cool, but again, it was just kind of like no gameplay and just sort of a story trailer, I suppose.
Yeah. For me, I mean, actually, a lot of stuff looked really cool, but I just did want to give a shout out to Little Devil Inside. I thought that game looked really interesting. I just loved the scope of the adventuring in that. It didn't seem like save the world adventure. It just seemed like kind of like go take care of a monster in a town and then go do some other cool adventure. I don't know.
We were talking about it during the thing, but like I really like that we're getting to a point where games don't have to strive to just be hyper realistic. They can like have a very specific stylized art design while just utilizing really good lighting and color correction and stuff to make it look real while being stylized.
Like,
and so it's
Ratchet and Clank is a good example of that, right?
Yeah.
And this game was maybe a little more realistic looking, but it was robots. So Stray, that game, I don't even know what happens in that game. They just showed a bunch of robots as if they were people in a city and then showed a cat.
That's
and
the
I
cat
was like,
one.
yeah, I want to play that
play
cat
as
game.
the cat.
Yeah.
That's the Annapurna game, yeah.
What do we do? Who knows? I want to play it.
Here for it.
Humans are dead.
JM, can you tell us about any games that Devolver are publishing for PS5?
Are you allowed to?
I don't think that there's anything that far ahead.
All right.
To be
a seat of your pants type company.
Well, we're an indie publisher, so
when it's ready.
Yeah, it's like when it's when something comes our way and they're like, yeah, we're going to put this on PlayStation 5. We need 90 quadrillion triangles to make this game. We're like, all right, great. I think I'm not really sure. I mean, there will be in time.
Sure.
But nothing right now. I mean, we're looking forward to Fall Guys on the PlayStation 4, this year and that sort of thing.
Right.
And I'm sure a lot of the things that we have that will be coming out in the next several years will be coming out on PlayStation 5.
Right.
I would hope so.
Yeah. David, you know one game that is coming to a console called the Nintendo Switch? Carrion.
It's true.
That's right. Brought it back home.
Matthew's got his shit together. You guys can learn something. There's a demo for it on Steam right now if you want to give it a try, by the way.
Very good.
I'll mention, I guess, Solar Ash seemed cool too. I really loved Hyper Light Drifter, and they showed a sequel type game for that. That's cool.
Yeah. That looked good.
Two more things about the PS5.
Yep.
The first one is the car combat game.
Oh, yeah.
What it was called.
Like the Derby-like game they showed off?
Yeah, it was nice to see a car combat game. It reminded me of Twisted Metal and Vigilante 8. And some of the new headphones, wireless headphones, have 3D audio. So look forward to whatever new audio innovations are for the next generation of consoles.
Matt sure loves immersion.
Give me that immersion, baby.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know that there's been anything, honestly, that's come out from this that I've been super excited about, but the IGN Summer of Gaming event, the Nebulous multi-day event, has been going on. It started since our last episode. I've watched a little bits of it here and there, and it's a lot more talking and with developers and that kind of thing, which is good, but it wasn't as flashy as this PlayStation 5 event and didn't have maybe as many of the big heavy hitters. Have y'all checked any of this out or followed any of it? I mean, you can see a summary of it all on IGN's website, and I don't want to say it's underwhelming because I don't know that that's true, but it's not quite had, it's just so much. And also,
and it's still ongoing, right? I mean, we'll talk about this more in our topic. like
fair.
the E3 likes or not E3s that are happening right now. But it's like not as like centralized, so it's a little hard to really keep up with, you know what I mean, in a way. So it's kind of just like I'm just kind of seeing news items as they pop up on Reddit or Twitter or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I can't just be like plugged into IGN's live streams 24/7.
Yeah. And I don't know that this is related at all, but EA is doing a big event on just a couple days from now, day after this podcast comes out, June 18th. EA Play, and they announced already Star Wars Squadrons, which is a Star Wars game, like a dogfighting type game. It's coming out. I think there were a bunch of leaks around this game, which makes me wonder if they announced it because of that, or if they were planning to do it at this event. I don't know. I haven't.
Well, it's coming out in like September, right, or October. So it's like really soon.
Yeah. And there's been a lot of leaks surrounding the game, so a lot of the information that they might show off on June 18th is already out there probably. But does this game look interesting to y'all? Are y'all into Squadrons?
One of my favorite video games of all time was Rogue Squadron, Rogue Commander on the GameCube.
Mm-hmm.
So hopefully it would be good, but I don't personally have a lot of faith that EA will do an excellent Star Wars dogfighting game, but I would love it if it were good. I would be very excited if it were good.
Yeah, I think for the most part, EA has kind of fumbled the franchise a little bit since they've had it. I think the one real standout is like Jedi Fallen Order, and they did a good job with that. And that was the one game that had like the least amount of EA-isms in it. You know, there were like no microtransactions or anything like that.
Yeah.
Apparently there's not going to be in this one as well, but it's like a $40 game.
Yeah.
Which makes me believe that there'll be some sort of seasons pass sort of thing or
something.
You know what I mean? There's got to be some way they EA this, you know? So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. And we'll see what else comes out of EA Play. Is there anything that y'all would like to see come out of that?
Bring the fucking Sims to the Switch. There's like zero reason why the Sims is not on the Switch. It would sell so well.
God, that would destroy lives.
Yeah,
I know.
Why they haven't done
I think
that
the only thing we have coming out is like a $50 version of Burnout Paradise. And it's like, we like put games that people will actually buy on there. No one's going to buy that for $50.
Casual market too, right? Like my wife who does not play video games was like, do they have the Sims on the Switch? Because I would play that.
Yeah.
And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Just like, okay.
I know a lot of people that would get the Sims, so they should just do it.
Yeah, they should. That's a great idea.
Also, this isn't EA, but it is Star Wars. The new release date for Star Wars Racer, the port that was held back the day before it was supposed to release before, finally has been set for June 23rd. So that should be coming out this Tuesday. Hopefully, we'll hope that Axis, or what is it, Aspire. I hope Aspire doesn't pull what they did last time and delay it at the last second. But
you wake
I
up
am very
in the
excited
morning
about that.
before
I'll be downloading that day one if it's
that's
out.
excellent. I loved that game.
Yeah,
It's
one of my
the
all-time
same
favorite
one. So
racing
it's a
games.
port of the original.
It's a port of the PC version. So it's like it's at 1080. And it's at full HD, but it's all the same models and everything, and it's the same gameplay. Yeah,
because I played it on the 64.
Same, yeah.
Right?
Excellent game.
It was so good. That's exciting.
Yeah, and if you're like David, who was excited the day that it was supposed to come out to play it, and then can't download it because they delayed it. Hopefully they won't do that to you again.
Right. I think I was talking on the Devolver Forkcast with my co-host, and he mentioned we were talking about the Star Wars Pod Racer game on 64, and he was like, "Oh, I think that's out." And I'm like, "Really?" And I went and searched, and I couldn't find anything on the eShop, and I was like, Robbie doesn't know what he's talking about."
I was gutted, dude. Yeah. I was totally gutted.
Is there going to be any like multiplayer or anything like that?
I don't think it's any added online, but I think it will have local multiplayer.
I'm fine.
Yeah.
All right. I'll live with that.
And I don't know a lot about this game, so maybe somebody else can talk about it, but there's a new Duke Nukem game coming to the Switch. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's a Duke port.
It's a new old.
Matt, you take this one.
Yeah, Duke Nukem 3D 20th Anniversary World Tour for only $5.
It's a fair price.
That's right. Yeah, this is like one of the only. The reason I wanted to put this on the news was that it's $5 if you pre-purchase it. It's like half off. So it's going to like actually retail for 10. But this is the first instance I've seen of a reverse Switch tax. Like this game on Steam is $20 and it's going to be $10 on the Switch. So I don't know what it is. Maybe they saw like how well the like OG Doom ports were doing at $5 on the Switch and they wanted to price it lower. But I already pre-installed this. I'm all for retro shooters on the Switch, and they added a bunch of stuff like HD rumble and gyro aiming and everything. It's like Switch specific, so it looks like they actually gave it some love.
There you go.
Nice.
You've never heard of Duke Nukem 3D, Patrick?
Oh no, I know. I'm aware of Duke Nukem. I haven't seen this news item, and I wasn't sure what it was. Gotcha. Like, it's been a while since Duke Nukem was never my thing.
He's very crass, and I know you're a very clean
a prude
person.
Yes, self-proclaimed prude. Don't like him.
I can't believe we didn't talk about Duke Nukem in the 69th episode. It just dawned on me. You give money to strippers in that game.
There you go.
Go listen to the 69th episode.
Hey, just every day is the 69th episode if you believe enough.
I believe every day.
To close out our news section and to tie this in to you, JM, a little bit, Devolver Digital just recently shared with us that they are planning to have the Devolver Direct 2020, which is something that's usually done at E3, go live in mid-July, quote, if all goes well with production. So how is the problem getting the fake blood? Maybe.
Problem is too much real blood.
Too much real blood.
It's too much real blood, and it's making it hard to get the fake blood in that we need. A lot of people are slipping and falling on the real blood, and then that makes more real blood, and
it's an Ouroboros.
Fair enough.
It's a vicious cycle.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
But we are looking forward to that. That's super cool.
For sure. Yeah, you guys always do really cool stuff with that. When we had Kate on the show about a year ago, I guess that was about a year ago. She was talking some about how about the production of those events, and I'm looking forward to see what you guys do this year. Although now that I've said that, watch it just be like, here's this game.
Serious.
Here's this game.
It's like, this isn't a time for comedy.
Fuck you guys. Buy these games. That's not. Yeah, it's.
I will. But I think that's a nice seg for us. Unless there's anything else to share about that Devolver Direct or anything else we've talked about, we'll take a real quick break, and then we will talk about kind of the past and present and future of E3 and where it's at right now. I think we'll start with just sort of maybe brief history of E3 and how it came to be. I don't pretend to be an expert on this, so anybody knows more than me, then jump in. But my understanding is that before E3, which the first one was in 1995, video games were shown off at various expos, but in particular like CES, the Consumer Electronics Showcase. And that was the site of some of the early sort of Nintendo versus Sega stuff. But as it wore on, and maybe even just was always kind of the case that video games were kind of pushed to the back of this event. And at some point, people in the video game industry decided that they needed their own show.
The Electronic Entertainment Expo.
Yeah, you could go to CES. You could look at your VCR player, check out the latest Walkman, and check out a Nintendo.
Yeah.
That's what I call it, a Nintendo.
That's what they called it back then, too.
Yeah.
They did.
So I think, the first one, like we said, was in 1995, and it was in LA at the Convention Center, which is where it has been for a lot of its existence. It briefly went to Georgia, I think, in the late 90s. And but other than that, it's always been in LA and mostly at the Convention Center. I think there was some pushback in the 2000s about it becoming maybe overattended by people who aren't industry insiders, and this kind of gets us to some of the current issues, right? Where such that they decided to kind of scale it back and have it at the airport in Santa Monica and sort of surrounding hotels and stuff. And that was in 2007. And that didn't go over well either, I think. And so there was this sort of struggle about, who is this becoming for, as sort of bloggers and what we would now call content creators, I guess. But at the time, that term wasn't used, became more involved at this event, and fans started coming, and they started to like open it to the public officially, I think in 2016. That's where, right. Fans could come just to be fans. And over the years too, this went from probably being about, showing off things to retailers to showing things off to fans too, a little bit, right? As the video game industry changed and exploded. Back at CES, it was like Kmart coming to see whether they want to buy a bunch of units of this device.
Right.
But now it's, these showcases and
more for the press,
and that kind of thing. Is there anything I missed, or in this very very brief history? Is there anything that I missed, or anything y'all want to
think? When I think of E3, I think about all of the articles that I read in the various gaming magazines, Game Fan,
for sure.
Nintendo Power, all of that. And doing research for this episode, learned that E3 was started by the International Data Group. Who had a vested interest in E3 because they owned lots of publications. They had Macworld, PC World, GamePro, Computer World. So it would make sense that they would see this business, the video game business, kind of growing. And they're like, oh, we have publications and we can talk about our event in our magazines.
And that is what eventually morphed into the ESA, which is what runs E3. Is that correct? The Electronic Software Association.
That's correct.
That's my understanding.
Yeah. Who, as of right now, is not in very good standing with a lot of people. And I know you have this a little further down in the list, but I mean, there was a pretty well publicized issue that happened. I guess that was last year, where a bunch of people, journalists and, influencers and attendees, YouTubers and all this kind of stuff, attendees basically had their personal information, including phone numbers, addresses, first and last names, all this kind of personal information just up on a public link on the website that was meant for exhibitors to, invite them to events and stuff like that. And that was just kind of publicly available, which led to a lot of doxing, and it led to a lot of people ordering pizzas to people's houses, which sounds like not that big of a deal, but it's like, it's just not cool to have people that follow you on YouTube know where you live. And so that definitely made a lot of people fall out of favor with the ESA, and they've been kind of working an uphill fight ever since then. And then obviously, COVID-19 coming around this year canceled the event. And this is the first year that we haven't had an E3 since, I guess, 1987, right? So this would have been the first E3 that I would have ever attended this year. I know Matt and we both got press credentials from this podcast to go cover the event this year. Which was kind of like, when I was a kid, it was like E3 was like the thing I always wanted to go to, but it's like, I'd have to work for a video game magazine if I'm ever going to do that. So like, it was kind of a dream come true in a way to be able to go personally for me for the first time. And it's a shame that this was the year that it was canceled. But JM, you've been to E3 a couple times, I'd imagine.
I've been to E3 7 times.
There you go.
That's a lot of times.
And that's a lot of times. And this is the first time in 8 years that I haven't been to E3. So I'm missing it a lot. If there's still if there's an E3 in 2021, assuming there's still a United States of America in 2021,
we'll see about
that. I would love to see you on the Devolver lot. I would love to see you guys there. That would be very exciting for me.
Thank you.
Well,
so
can you tell us a little bit about your experience of going for the last 7 or so years?
Sure. So the first of all, full disclosure, being someone who works at Devolver and spends time at the Devolver lot, I have only actually been inside of E3 twice in
Right.
those 7 years. Once was my very first E3, and I borrowed a badge and I went in and I saw it, and it was my very first game show. Like, I'd never been to a PAX or anything like that before. So I was seeing, it was 2013, and I was seeing the big one. And it just blew my mind. It was just overwhelming to see, these big companies spending millions and millions of dollars to, outperform each other. That was still just, the industry. Like, they hadn't even gotten into, they wasn't even open to the public at that time. At Devolver, we generally rent the parking lot across the street next to the abandoned Hooters and set up some tents and have some beer and places to sit. And we rent Airstreams, and we have the game demos inside the Airstreams. So it's a little more laid back. And it's a nice opportunity for folks that have been inside the convention center to come out, spend some time outside, relax, not be compressed against other people. Because have y'all been to PAXs and that sort of thing, I assume?
Yes.
Yeah. We the three of us went to PAX South this year, kind of representing the podcast, and
nice.
and that was a blast. Obviously, PAX South is the smallest of the PAXs, and
so it's my favorite.
Right. Yeah, it's very homey, and it's in Texas, so that's nice.
And it's in Texas.
Yeah. But I can only imagine the chaos, right, of like the big show floor with all the press and exhibitors, and then you add in all the fans and everything, would make it just really difficult to kind of parse your way through and even get to play any games. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think even when they have fans allowed in E3, I'm pretty sure it's like the first few days is press only, and then at some point they allow the fans in.
Yeah,
because otherwise the press will never get to anything. And the objective of these shows is really to get the press in front of the games, to get them to be sharing, or you guys, to be sharing the games with their audience, with the world, and get it out to as many people as possible. It's wonderful having fans at the shows and getting to like see people and help them experience the games. But from a technical, the reason that the shows exist perspective, it is about, industry.
And I think
it's still a trade show at the end of the day.
And it's weird. It's because it is a trade show, but then there's all these other people that aren't, that are just there to consume. It's like the candy convention in The Simpsons.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
I think that gets to kind of the current and future questions too, right? Because, back in 1995, there needed to be a trade show to show off things to retailers and press. But we've gotten to an era where maybe there doesn't need to be that, but that there are people that are clamoring to go to these things for the community aspect of it as fans. And so they've had to struggle with that. And maybe we can talk more about that. But I also, something you said, JM, reminded me or made me think about South by Southwest, which is kind of like how Devolver rents the parking lot across the street. And I know like Microsoft rents the facility across the street, and
they own that theater.
Right. But it's kind of spun out to be something greater than what it is, kind of like South by Southwest has, where like there's all these sort of unofficial things that happen around then too. And I think if it were to continue in its current form, that's a good thing, and maybe a way to, like you said, kind of ease some of the space issues and provide alternatives for and that kind of stuff. But I just had that thought.
Yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's a big fucking tangled mess in a lot of ways. You mentioned community, by the way. The industry community is also, it's really nice to get to go and see the people that you work with. Like, we communicate with people online, we email, we chat, we voice chat and all that stuff, but to get to actually hang out with people and just sit and be near people is a really wonderful treat. It's So missing that a lot.
Any kind of person-to-person interaction sounds good these days.
Yeah, that's true too.
Right, but I guess that's an element, right? Like that as a publisher, and I mean, this might be true of other events more so, right? But this is a way to connect with and make connections in the industry and find the next indie dev that maybe you want to publish their game or whatever.
Well, and for an independent, like, so, EA is not going to have any fucking problem selling their shit to people,
right?
Whether it's in person or, like the big press conference things and that kind of thing. Like PlayStation, their online thing was probably more viewed. No, I mean, they still would have had the same amount of views because the amount of people that are physically there is such a small percentage of the people watching the event these days.
Right.
But yeah, like for an independent developer, E3 might not really be the event for them necessarily.
More like a GDC or something like that.
Well, yeah, GDC, losing GDC to PAX's, and even E3. I mean, a lot of indie developers will come to the Devolver lot at E3. I mean, so it actually is an important place for, like the big guys are going to be fine. It's the little guys that are losing out on this in a lot of ways. And there's no telling what the future is going to be for it because like even distributed events, then you've got an entire city of traffic. You guys know what South by Southwest does to Austin. I mean, I don't live there anymore, but like I always remember like that first day of spring. It's like that perfect day when like the weather is like, I'm going to spend all fucking day outside. I'm going to go shit. It's South by Southwest everywhere. I can't go fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
So when you've got something like that landing in a city, like it's nice to have a convention center where it mostly stays.
Right.
A little bit branching out is good, but it should mostly stay in one place. But man, the fucking future of these conventions, I am not optimistic for any of them.
Yeah.
Paxpox was already a thing when we didn't have a highly contagious form of the flu running around.
Yeah.
And this virus is not something that's going to, magically fucking disappear if like, even if America, God forbid, gets our shit together, and fucking like handles the situation like as we should be.
Single way.
Like it's a long-term situation. Like this is something this is the rest of humanity. Measles never went away. Chickenpox never went away. The flu never went away. These diseases don't go away. We just learn to live with them. But how long it'll be before we can have a major convention where you've got people, packed shoulder to shoulder trying to get anywhere.
And it's people from all over the world too, right?
All over
it's
the
like
world.
Yeah.
Touching the same controllers and
yeah. It's a real shame. And you're right. I mean, I'm looking at a lot of the stuff going on right now, and it's the theaters, like the movie theaters, like are supposed to be reopening, right? This upcoming month, and they're like starting this month and into July. But it's like, I'm not convinced that that's going to last super long, honestly.
Yeah.
It's like, cause it's like, there's all this talks of a second spike happening, which really that's debatable if we even left the first spike.
I don't think we have.
And
we haven't. The second spike is happening in China.
Right. Exactly. And so it's even if the stuff opens up, it's a question of how many people are going to be willing to actually go out back into these events, right?
I live really close to a water park in Pflugerville, and people are willing to go. Oh my God. I drive by this water park and it's crowded. But anyway, we're going off on another topic. I'm sorry.
I mean, it is part of the topic, though.
But it is.
Your gamers are not a notoriously hygienic crowd. And I don't mean that as like a joke or to be mean. It's just true.
It's the truth.
Like,
it's the truth of the matter.
And I mean, plenty of people are hygienic, but then there's just enough people that it's just not part of, how they think about, what they should be doing.
Well, debilitating virus notwithstanding,
I
think that the writing, the proverbial writing had kind of already been on the wall before this pandemic broke out for E3 in a way. I mean, and this is debatable, but it's like when we talked about earlier, I think a lot of people were really burned by that data breach that went out by the ESA.
Yeah.
And, Nintendo has already been doing, they stopped doing a physical press conference at E3 several years ago when they started doing their directs. And, Sony had already dropped out. They had not been in the previous E3 either. They just kind of did their own event. They were kind of following Nintendo's model there. people always talk about how it's like, oh, okay, this year, like when nobody's there, everybody's going to do their own events, and they're going to kind of see that they don't need E3 and they're just not going to be doing it anymore. And so that's a reality. But I mean, I think what are like the pros and cons, right? Because like, I think that having these fragmented events, I mean, there's many, many obvious advantages to that, right? You can kind of do things at your own time. You don't have to spend millions of dollars to set up a base camp and the show floor, which only X amount of people are actually going to get to anyway. I just hear lots of people saying that they don't think that E3 should exist anymore. And I kind of want to get your guys' opinions on that, right? Like, do you think that there is still value in having this like one event?
I think so. So I think next year is going to be a better version of this year. Because this year everyone was like, oh shit, what? And you know, everybody's scrambling, but like the Devolver Direct, they're very popular. They're really good, really fun, smart, programs,
satirical,
but nobody would have, but nobody would have seen it, or very few people would have seen it if we hadn't had the opportunity to come right off the coattails of, I can't remember who we followed the first year, Sony or Bethesda or some massive company. They have their big event, and then the little guy gets to come in and do our show. And that, you know, again, the big guys are going to be fine, but like, it's the little guys that really get the opportunity, I think, out of these big events. You know, if we didn't already have the popularity of the Devolver Direct, nobody would care about the Devolver Direct. And even as it stands, we're not optimistic that we're going to get the same viewership that we did when we were following, you know, somebody giant.
I could see that.
And let's say we don't already have that. Let's say, you know, they want to have Annapurna announces.
Right.
You know, a lot of people are going to be excited to see that and be interested in that. But if it's not following the coattail, you know, if there's not a great opportunity for it to kind of get mixed in with the big dogs, it won't get as much audience as it probably would deserve. So it's that kind of thing. I think next year we're going to see a better rollout of the digital conference, and maybe there'll be a physical event. I mean, I really hope that it will at least have some kind of Devolver lot where we can at least go hang out, because I really miss my family.
But on that point, like what the industry is doing right now, like PAX sent out an email today, though they were recording this, and they're doing it all online, and it starts in September, and it's free online. There's no registration fee or anything like that. I think it like runs 9 days.
Yeah.
8 or 9 days.
PAX.
Yeah.
I don't know what that will be. But I think like JM, you're talking like what will happen with the industry, like what will also happen with some of the like, you know, fan culture that you get to interface with.
Yeah.
Like where will all that fan energy go if it's not E3? And maybe if PAX doesn't work out, where will it go then?
Yeah, I mean, and again, like I think a digital event is not like so PAX. You know, they have to have a digital event this year because there's no choice but to do something, and you want to do a digital event,
right?
But I mean, for the fans, I don't think anything beats, you know, getting to go to these shows in one way or another. Like they're so cool.
And you said it too, that like the little guy, but it's also like, that's how you become the big guy, right? Is like you meet people and you have new opportunities, and so like the big people will be fine. I think about this kind of like in terms of working from home, in this situation, like it's okay for me to work from home, and I'm doing a good job at it because I have worked in person with all these people previously, and we have these relationships we can rely on. But like to start and be like a little commenter on an online thing and try to network with somebody, that just isn't gonna work, right? Like
I would say, just like from a fan perspective, like somebody who grew up like looking forward to E3 every single year as like kind of that single distillation of all the news in one location. Like I miss it, you know, like and like you said, JM, we're all having to learn how to do this digital only thing in like this matter of a couple months. You know, we've all had to like learn how to work from home within the past few months. We all had to learn how to like Zoom etiquette. You know what I mean? Like we've had to learn so much stuff over the past few months, and it's so now is a really weird
Great
time.
penis, by the way.
I don't think it's necessarily. Thank you. Yeah, you sounded really good shitting earlier. But it's like, so this year isn't necessarily representative of what a digital only E3 in the future would be like, right? Or what these kind of announcements would be like. We would probably figure it out. But it's like, as a fan, I do miss that kind of ease of access of information where it's like, okay, I know E3 is going to be over these 4 or 5 days. So I've got my, even if I'm not going, I've got my channels I can kind of subscribe to, or I can look at, or I can watch the streams, Nintendo having their Treehouse thing if I want to see more about any kind of games that they revealed during a direct. It's like just having that kind of like easy access location where everybody's dropping information at the same time was just a really good way to stay on top of everything that was going to be happening for the upcoming year. And then obviously you've got the physical aspect of it as well.
Like to that point, we saw what you're talking about the very first year of E3 in 1995, that feeling of like, it's all building up to one moment and all of these companies are, fighting for the attention and, the dollars of fans and developers. And so in like 1995, we get the Sega Saturn and PlayStation announcement, and Sega Saturn goes first, and they're like, our console's $399.
Super cocksure.
Yeah. And then Sony comes out, and they're like talking about all the consumer electronic stuff they have, and it's a real shitty presentation. They're like $299, and people lose their fucking shit.
Yeah,
and that's like that started the first year in 1995, and that feeling of wherever I think. Since we don't have a centralized event, there's like a missing piece of competition and a missing piece of risk. And that's like, as a fan, that what I really miss is seeing all of these. If there's no risk, there's just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to follow.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah,
I think that might lead to like a bigger point here, but I think that might even be like so I don't think that was the birth of fanboyism and like taking sides, but that certainly like helped propagate that kind of like, Sega versus Nintendo, Sony versus Microsoft, like that kind of competition was kind of a fun part of gaming culture in a way. You know what I mean? It's like, we're all gamers, and so it kind of gamifies these announcements.
Sports, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Who wins E3? That concept too, right? Like when they say that.
Yeah. And I would say that's an element that's totally missing, right? From this kind of nebulous announcement, 3-month period.
Who is winning the Summer Games Fest right now? I don't know.
Yeah, is it Jeff Keighley or
itch.io?
Yeah, it's itch.io.
Fuck yeah, itch.io.
That's
holy
such a good
shit!
point.
What a package of games.
It's such a good deal.
That's the most bang
reasons.
for my buck I've ever received in my life, and it went towards a really good cause.
Yeah. Holy shit! Like that's like half a cent a game, and so like. Wow, what a spectrum of games. And there's so many like tools and like, wow.
What you're saying is that the ESA should sell E3 to itch.io.
For $5.
For $5.
Yeah. They're like, sorry, Jeff Keighley, we found a better offer.
Sorry, Jeff. I think that convenience that you're talking about is what we'll find in the future again, because it's really important to make it convenient for the fans and for press. Now that I say that, it's going to go one of two ways. They're either going to find a way to consolidate it and make like an event, even if it still has to be online. Who knows what the future will hold? But it will be consolidated to at least 1 or 2 weeks to make it easy for everybody. Or they're going to go the opposite, and it's going to be like plunk, let the splash wave die off. Plunk, let the splash wave die off, and so everyone tries to get their own space. And that, again, would be better for the big guys and worse for the little guys.
For sure.
That's a very good point.
And beyond just the convenience, there's that childlike wonder of like looking forward to the weekend, right? Or like it's like it felt like a holiday. It felt like Christmas, even though it's straight up just a commercial and we're just pawns for like the industrialist regime. Like it felt like
Christmas.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's like it was something to look forward to, right? And it's like, and I feel like the little bit of the wind out of the sails has been taken out. So I guess the question now is like, will the convenient, like, is it worth the kind of nebulous, like, goodwill feeling of like having it all in one time, or like will that win out over the convenience of like having your own thing at your own schedule? You know what I mean?
I'd say the magic you just described is actually the bigger selling point for it all happening at the same time again.
Yeah.
Like, convenience aside, like really creating an event, because, and I think the people that do these events know that, people like that. People like having an event to look forward to. They like having an event to experience, and they like having an event to look back on. Like, like it creates that whole experience. And if you can package that, if you can make it into something that, you know, fits into a win, because, you know, this summer of gaming, it's all spread out. It's this weird milieu of like, you know, and it's hard to kind of keep up with what's going on. There's like a sale that popped up today. Like the Steam is doing this big demo event that I personally was like, wait, what? And all these things just kind of, you know, they're, and again, also nobody really know, like a lot of folks don't know when they're doing their own things because, you know, how long it takes. So yeah, that magic I think is worth bringing it all together again too, because people like it. And ultimately it is all human beings that attend these events. Yeah. Not all human beings, I guess. There are some robots.
I think maybe, to get sentimental just a little bit is there is, as David, as you said, and Jam, maybe what you're referring to is like, we all are excited about this one thing. This is what I think about just getting older of like, it's nice when we all celebrate or enjoy the one thing together for a limited amount of time.
Sure.
So we can all like share in the excitement.
Yeah. Absolutely. And now that you mentioned sentimentality, I want to say going to these conventions, not so much E3 because I, you know, didn't spend a lot of time on the floor, but at PAX's, and like PAX is, you know, more about fans and stuff like that. I was very happy. It was one of the happiest things for me is that you get to see people really being themselves in a comfortable environment where they feel safe. And I remember seeing multiple trans people just being themselves. And I don't know, that made me really happy because you know, I don't know, just getting to see someone being able to feel safe and open with who they are in an environment where nobody is going to fuck with that. And that's really, really great. So that's one of my favorite things about these conventions, because the people that show up are fans and they're nice and they just want to see the games. And, you know, some people are, you know, dressed as giant monsters.
Right. Yeah. And they feel comfortable doing it.
Yeah. It's great.
Like-minded people with similar interests all being in a space where they won't be experiencing a lot of the judgment that they might feel when they're with people that don't get their shit, you know?
Yeah.
I think that's maybe if we transition to talk more about the ESA is the ESA is like a giant association. They have all of these big companies that they're affiliated with, and they do a lot of lobbyist work too. So it's like video game as the culture shifts from like industry to fan culture, from fan culture to industry. ESA is trying to figure out like who they are and what E3 is. And that's why we've seen it change so much of, you know, allowing fans in and then not allowing fans in other years. I'm saying like ESA doesn't know who they are.
Yeah, for sure. I think we'll probably look back on this period as like a pubescent period for the ESA and this event. You know what I mean? I think it was like pretty similar for a really long time. And then it started shifting already with the introduction of the fan element into it. And then now we're seeing an even bigger shift as we're having to deal with these kind of like tough, you know, practical issues that need to be worked out. And I think, I don't think it's going anywhere personally. I hope it doesn't go anywhere. If it does, it'll certainly be different, but I think it'll eventually find its stride and kind of coast into that adulthood where it'll kind of become its own thing finally.
And streaming live events, live streaming and that sort of thing is getting easier to do and more immersive and more inclusive.
Yeah, it feels like you're there even if you're not.
Yeah, and so opportunities for folks to for companies to set up experiences for people to come and kind of feel present even when they can't be, because there will be, I think, limited exposure, at least for the next few years, of physical people actually interacting at these events.
So if we get an E3 next year, do you think it'll be E3 Presents or E3 Presents?
I think we've established
it'll be E4.
Yeah. We'll establish we like presents. Christmas.
We're all in on presents.
E3 presents. They're all loot boxes.
Well, I think maybe we can wrap it up if there's anything else that we didn't get a chance to talk about, and or if you have any final thoughts on hopes for the future of E3 and what it might look like. I'd love to hear from y'all. So before we move on,
yeah, well, what I was going to posit is kind of like if there was one, like everything notwithstanding, everything we talked about, the kind of shortcomings of the event, and not even counting the COVID thing, like, what is like one change that you guys would want to see that would make the event better going forward in the kind of modern era that we're in? I can start. I think that demos should be online and timed. You know what I mean? I think that's a great kind of stopgap for people that aren't able to make it to the event. And JM, you might have thoughts about this because you guys host a lot of in-person demos. But I think that like if it's known that a lot of people aren't going to be able to be there, or that even people that want to play these demos but can't get in or can't afford a ticket, I think it would be a pretty good idea to have some of these demos available to the public, so you're not just like reading journalist impressions of a demo. You know what I mean? I don't know what you guys think about that, but that would be my contribution.
That sounds sticky to me.
Sticky?
Yeah. How so?
Well, from a trade show perspective, like sometimes what you're showing is not a playable demo necessarily. Like you're showing video, or you're showing a very limited demo that like someone from the company has to play because it has to stay on a very narrow track or the whole thing will break.
Sure.
And that's fine because, that's part of the development process. You're showing how things are developing. It's not done yet. And then I guess this may be a little silly of me, but I guess I also think that might at times pose a bit of a security risk to projects in development. Giving it out to people and letting people kind of break it down, because they will tear it down and they'll pick it apart.
Like data mining and whatnot.
Yeah, they'll they'll start modding it and fucking with it themselves. And it's not like games don't get deconstructed and stolen in that way. But I mean, like something like, I think PAX said that they're going to have a lot of demos available for people, and that makes sense, for a PAX for a fan style event. But it's also hard. I mean, as someone like, small developers, wanting to get your game out there, you have a demo, but you're a team of only a few people, and your demo works most of the time, but you got to have somebody there to babysit it. When you put that out in the world, you're going to get a whole lot of bad press. Not bad press, bad reviews from people who are like, this game's fucking broken. Why do they even make this shit? Ooh, I can make a better game. And just all this, ignorant vitriol.
That was a really good impression of me, by the
way. Thanks. Yeah. So that's tricky. I mean, I think it's good to, I think having demos, and I've seen a lot more demos lately, and the Steam event has a lot of demos on it. So I think you're right. That demos need to come back in a big way, because they used to have demos all the time. You remember those old CDs?
Yeah.
That would come and you'd play like, you'd have a selection of like 20 games that came with a magazine. And you're like, oh, well, you get to try them.
But you're right. I mean,
demos are coming back.
It takes to make a vertical slice of something. That takes like manpower and energy, and that takes time, precious development time away from actually finishing the game sometimes, right? Yeah.
I don't know that this is unique to E3, but I think it's something we're kind of figuring out as a population or as a culture or whatever, is how to have digital events. And E3 has already started to become a digital event before all of this, where, people watch the streams of the presentations. And it's, like I said, it's not unique to E3, but how to provide space in digital events for the different needs of E3 for the industry people to connect and in a more limited digital space or something, and then for the fans to be able to watch things and connect and maybe play the demos that are available streamed somehow or something. I don't know. That's something that has to be figured out for all these digital events of like, how do you network at a digital event, and how do you create space for a little side room at a digital event, and how do you allow the right people into those side rooms? So maybe as that kind of
how do you see somebody across a party, like while you're holding a drink and you like share a look and then you're in like a distribution deal with them?
Right.
You know where the future is, I think, regarding those sorts of a digital event?
Yeah.
And it might not be this, but it's fucking Fortnite.
I was thinking that, like, what just happened this past weekend?
What did they do this weekend?
They had a whole event where like the water surrounds the island, and then they released this big satellite.
All right. I mean, they have fucking concerts in there.
Yeah.
They have like these huge events that people are there for. It's a place that kids don't even play the game. They go there to hang out. I mean, and I don't know about y'all, but through COVID, I've found online gaming with my friends to be a really great way to just hang out with my friends. I've been playing a lot of Grand Theft Auto, actually, and getting in the car and driving around with your friend, even if you're not like doing anything, you just get to hang out and talk. And
it's like an excuse to hang out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Patrick, like, what you're saying is, if there's a digital place, is that like a hub world? Is it similar to like Fortnite, where you play as this avatar, and the avatar goes in this 3-dimensional space and approaches a demo kiosk, and then that demo kiosk is, a demo from EA?
Guys, this already exists, and it's called PlayStation Home. You guys remember that shit?
Hell yeah, I do.
It was like a Snow Crash-esque hangout space on the PlayStation 3.
If I could change one thing about these events, there would be more musical numbers by David Howe.
Well, also, I'll write a jingle for E3. I think that's what's been missing, is a little bit of identity on the musical sense. Yeah.
Have y'all heard this man sing?
That's true. Yeah. We didn't say this up top, but I met JM through musical theater. We did Into the Woods together. And hey, you got a good voice too, man. Maybe we team up and write a jingle for E3.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
Well, I think this topic is huge, and it's got a lot of things that shoot off of it, and we could talk forever about both E3 and digital events and the future of these things. Has anybody got anything last thought?
Thoughts and prayers.
All right. Yeah. Well, in that case, we're going to take a real quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about the video games that we have been playing recently. I want to jump off of something that you said, JM, and that's that I played a little bit of Killer Queen Black with Jordan, your friend David, Jordan Willis. We were playing Killer Queen the other night, and I don't know him that well, but it was great because we were just chatting and like we were getting stomped online, but we were probably partly because we were talking, but also because we were playing really tough people. But I really was enjoying playing Killer Queen Black. Shout out to Jordan.
Jordan's a great guy. I'm glad you guys get along.
Yeah. Other than that, I've been playing a lot of the same games. I did participate in the Super Smash Brothers North American tournament this past weekend, and as did a few other Switch heads like Amir and Dan, and it was a learning experience. I definitely will do it again after doing that. I'm a really bizarre person who, when I first do something that's a little outside my comfort zone, I can get really nervous, and I did because of like the interface with finding your matches and then like recording your results. I screwed up my results 3 times. I'm like, oh, which got me more nervous.
Patrick, I don't want to alarm you. That actually sounds like a very normal person.
Okay, there you go.
I don't want to upset you.
I thought I was special.
You are special. You're but like it's okay to be nervous.
Yeah, there you go. So I didn't do very well in that tournament, but I had a lot of fun, and I think next time I will feel a lot more confident about one of those kind of things. I think I've been playing a lot of Mario Maker with my son. I'm trying to think of what else that might be interesting. I played Jump Rope Challenge today. Nothing new to regular viewers. So I'll let somebody else take it.
Yeah, I'll go next. Like I said, I've been playing some of those itch.io games from that bundle. There's some really great ones in there. Check it out. I mean, there's so much to sift through, but I know personally, I played a short hike from that. I played through that game. That's like a very quick game to play. So
big fan,
Yeah, I just kind of stayed up really late one night and kind of played through that game and really enjoyed it. I've been playing a couple of other games from that too, but maybe next week I'll check in with like some of my recommendations from that bundle. If you picked it up, I wanted to prepare that for this episode, but I haven't quite played enough of them. I haven't played all 1,400 games, so it's it's been a little difficult. Obviously been playing some more Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics. My dad was in town recently, and we just had a really great time playing backgammon and Yahtzee and all these, or excuse me, Yacht Dice, the Nintendo version of Yahtzee. But yeah, that game continues to be a blast, and I'm playing that in like little spurts online whenever I can. And then another game that I picked up this week and played for the first time was Firewatch on the Switch. There's that big kind of summer sale going on the Switch right now, and Firewatch was $6. Which is an excellent price for that game. And I finally had my chance to play it through, and I really enjoyed the game. I think that the main character, like at a certain point, kind of got on my nerves the longer I played it. But I will take a like speaking protagonist to a silent protagonist anytime in a game. I like playing somebody who has a bit of their own personality. And it just feels like you can tell a better story that way. And, I really enjoyed the game. I thought it was very moody, and, for a while I wasn't sure if it was really for me. And then it like kind of hit this crucial point in the story where everything kind of started coming together a little bit more, and that pushed me through. And then, I realized it was like 3:30 in the morning and I'd finished the game. But yeah, I definitely recommend if the sale's still going on when you're hearing this and you haven't played it yet, Firewatch is a great walking simulator. But I mean, a short hike is also kind of arguably a walking simulator. And those are both games that I really enjoyed. And I hope to do a walking simulator episode of this podcast pretty soon, talk about some of these. What about you, Matt? What have you been playing?
I did pick up Clubhouse Games 51 Worldwide Classics.
My boy.
Did you play all 51 games?
All 51. Or in, as we call it in Switch Headz, CHG 51
WWC.
See.
For short.
Yeah, for short. And it took me so long to say.
I haven't picked up CHG 51 WWC yet.
No, you nailed that right off the
I'm
bat.
excited to.
Yeah,
I had like 5 seconds to do it before my brain forgot.
yeah. CHG 51 WWC is great. I played it with my partner, and we play Ludo, and we got destroyed by the computer. No contest.
Yeah.
And that game is just there's so many surprise and delight moments with the sound design. There's like bleeps and bloops are just so cute. And the figures that talk to each other to tell you the rules. It's very fun.
Yeah, I that's something I haven't really mentioned about that game, but the music is like fucking lit in that game. Like it's all super smooth, and like I basically want to take all those songs and just put hip hop beats under them and turn them into like trap beats. But it's a very comforting game.
Yeah, it's so cool. There's 51 games. What's not to like? That's what I'm trying to say. I also have been playing. I revisited Apex Legends this past weekend, and that was really fun to play. And like JM, what you were saying was some friends just like sent me a message on Google and were like, "Hey, we're playing on Apex at 10. Let's hang out." And it was great just to like hang out and be stressed and suck so bad at that game. I am real bad, but it was fun to hang out with friends and die. Jam, how about you? What have you been playing?
I have not been playing CHG 51 WWC, or as we call it at Devolver, Chug 51 Wook. I haven't had a chance to really get into that. But I've been playing. So a friend of mine was on PlayStation, and I saw he was playing Grand Theft Auto 5, and it was only $30. So I actually bought it at the beginning of self-isolation. right before, like a week or two before it was free on fucking Epic. So I was like, God damn it. But I picked it up on Epic anyway. And I haven't actually been playing it lately, but a game that I've played a lot of during self-isolation, and it's a really good game. If you guys, I think you should check it out. And it's not a Devolver game. I'm being a shitty shill here, but Deep Rock Galactic.
I've heard about that game.
It just came out. It is so good. Like, it is, there's so much attention to detail. It is so much fun. It has great replayability, wonderful character progression. You're 4 different dwarves and you're mining you're space dwarves and you're mining this planet, Hoxie's 4 or something like that. And you've got 4 different roles and it's really well done, really well thought out, wonderful teamwork game. Like, it's cooperative. So you're working with a team of dwarves. You've got to complete an objective and then evac out. So much fun to play with other people, and also to play solo. It's really, really good game. Oh, and Animal Crossing.
Animal Crossing. That kind of person.
My mom got a 5-star island.
What?
Your mom did?
My mom did.
Hell yeah.
She's got all kinds of great stuff. Apparently, all she does is just shake the shit out of the trees.
Yeah, that'll do it. Get 2.
I didn't know
2 furniture items per day.
Really?
Is it 2? I thought it was 1.
On your island, it's 2, and if you go to a mystery island, there's 1.
Oh, Jesus Christ. I've been playing this game.
Yeah, well, my mom... Yeah, me too. I've been, investing in turnips and, going to online gurus to figure out when to sell and shit like that. No, my mom has it figured out. She's got, all, the rare flower colors. She's just I just like to water them. And she's just got fields of fucking blue and black flowers.
I've been trying to convince my mom to play this game. She's very anti-learning new things. But I'm like, listen, you would love this game. And I'm really trying to get her into it. Maybe this is exactly the conversation she needed to hear in order to pick it up.
Just shake the trees, Mom. Shake those trees.
My mom loves shaking trees. It's crazy.
Boom! She's set.
Cool. Well, that's it for the episode. Thanks so much, JM, for coming on and talking to us about E3 and your experiences and thoughts on that.
Thanks for having me. I have no fucking clue what I'm talking about. It's been a real pleasure just talking anyway.
Yeah, you fooled me, man. Yeah. It's good seeing you again, man. It's been a long time.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, let me know if you ever want to do this again. I'd be happy to come.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
I want to know more Into the Woods facts when you guys were in musical theater.
Yeah.
There's some stories.
I was an asshole.
Yeah. And I was naive, and we'll leave it at
that. Well, thanks again for coming on, and thanks to Corduroy, who does our music. Sorry, Chris McKeever, we did not play Disney Tsum Tsum Festival this week. If you're looking to find me, Patrick, online, I am PDYX.
You can find me on Twitter, Matthew, MATHYOU.
I'm pretty much everywhere on the internet at Monolith Fiji. And what about you, JM? Where can they find you? You got a podcast to plug or something?
I do have a podcast to plug. Forkcast.devolverdigital.com, FORKCAST.DEVOLVERDIGITAL.com.
Very good.
And you can also email forkcast@devolverdigital.com to tell us what you think of the podcast. But if you haven't listened to it yet, that'd be weird.
Indeed.
And check out the podcast. I've only listened to a couple episodes, but I've really enjoyed it so far. You guys have some good banter.
Oh, good. Thanks. I can't listen to it myself.
Yeah.
I get very anxious. I'm like, oh, everything I say is inane.
Yeah.
I will say I have the most recent forecast episode up about E3 as well, so it's pertinent for right now.
Yep.
And I saw the length of that episode is 69 minutes.
Nice.
Nice. Hashtag nice. Hashtag not E3. Hashtag Devolver Presents Carrion.
Hashtag full circle. Hashtag 69.
That's what I'm talking about. Ladies and gentlemen, Thank you so much for listening to this episode on the past, present, and future of E3. We hope you took something out of it. And like we said, there's a lot more to talk about with E3. We didn't even really get to the greatest E3 moments that we can remember. So I'm sure we'll be talking more about this in the future. And E3 is going to change, and we'll be here to talk about it with you guys as it continues to evolve. We've got a great episode for you next week. We have a very special guest lined up. I'm not going to tell you who it is because we're not 100% confirmed, but it's going to be awesome. We actually have a great rest of the month lined up. So keep listening to Super Switch Headz. Make sure you join our Facebook group, join our Discord. We'll have a link for that in there as well. We'll see you guys next week. Remember to stay safe, wash your hands, keep fighting the good fight out there, everybody. We're actually making real change happen. We love you very much. Bye-bye.